Hello, everybody, and welcome to Mocktails from the Cantina Live, episode number 57. On tonight's show, old friend and brother Sean Hines stops by to talk about our Disney 100 exhibition in Chicago experience, as well as Dan Aykroyd's appearance at the Wonderverse in Oak Brook, Illinois. Producer Matthew Rooney is here to make sure the train stays on track, and producer and brother Rich Brendel is here for a cheer and a beer. Grab yourself a beverage.
Yes, have some.
Smoke if you got 'em. I am your show host, Chris Mocht.
What did you say your name was?
I am your show host, Chris Mocht, and we are live inside the Wampa Cave. Let the tomfoolery and hijinks begin. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Mocktails from the Cantina Live. It is Tuesday, April 23rd. Hello to all of you. We did not have a 4-year anniversary this past, I guess 420 would be the unofficial Mocktails anniversary because I launched it on 419. But anyways, we will be talking to brother Sean Hines on the show today. We'll be reminiscing a little bit about that first episode, along with taking a deep dive in our experiences that we had in Chicago, Disney 100, which to me was an amazing, amazing experience. And Dan Aykroyd was here in Chicago at the Wonderverse. It's kind of like the Dave and Buster's, if you will, but Sony owns it. And I was very, very disappointed in this event, but it turned out to be a positive experience in the end. I would love to bring on a old friend of mine, brother, and now producer, brother Rich Brendel. Rich, I got to tell you, man, thank you so much for not only supporting the show for as long as you did on Mocktails, but on Patreon, but thank you so much for upping your tier to producer, man. I appreciate that.
Yeah, man. We do a lot of good stuff for the community, so.
Well, it means a lot to me. It means a lot to me, and I know that is one thing that I enjoy about doing this show is the community aspect of it. And you and I had talked on the phone a couple days ago when I was in a little bit of a funk about this show. It hits 4 years, and I'm thinking, wow, we got to keep the train on the track. That's what Matthew Rooney's behind the board for this evening. And you had kind of made it clear to me. You said we were made to create. And because these independent film projects that I've been working on and I have on the back burner and I've released and all this shit, it's good to have Mocktails for the creative outlet. So thank you for being a part of it. I appreciate that. Hey, your segment that you own, this is only the segment that you can do. It cannot be duplicated or replicated by anybody else on the show. Cheering a beer. What are you raising your glass to tonight? And before you do, I don't want to get the cart ahead of the horse. You know I had a little bit of a dry spell.
Yeah.
I went a week without having any libations at all. I don't want to use the word wagon because it's not the Wild West, even though it feels like it is sometimes. And I don't want to use the word sobriety because that's too much. That reminds you of playing in the church band for all the recovering addicts on Friday night. So I call it a dry spell, and I broke it tonight because of the show. But man, I want to know what you're raising your glass to because I will raise my glass to whatever you are, my friend.
You know, I was thinking what I should do it to, and I think we're gonna do it to is one amazing next month because so many things are coming up for me. Like there's so many great hangs that are going to be happening. I'm going to see you guys at a Lulu on Friday, which we'll talk more about. After that, we're going to a Cubs game, and we're going to see Phantom Menace the weekend after. couple weekends after that, Tyler and I are going to go to Vegas to see Dead and Company. So
It's
that is,
it's May. It's Star Wars month. It's your birthday. It's my birthday. It's my anniversary. There's so much shit to celebrate, man.
it feels like summer's arrived, and it's amazing.
So we're toasting to May. We're toasting to May.
Toasting to May. Yep.
All right. Cheers, my friend.
Cheers. Oh, I'm sorry. This is a sorry about that. This is a pineapple milkshake IPA from Fox River Brewing. It's Freaky Tiki. So cheers.
You know what? If you have one of those, cheers, my friend. If you have one of those extra, bring one to me. I'm a huge fan of pineapple beer. I'm drinking beer from the land of pineapples. This beer always reminds me of Brother Brad Riverdale because this is one of his favorites.
That's a good one right there.
I'm very interested to try that pineapple beer that you just had.
You know what it reminds me of is the what was it called? The Florida Sex Vacation.
Yes, in Gurnee, which unfortunately unfortunately that brewery had closed down. Yeah, and Matt says that you don't even need to stand up. You're a true pro with the chugging there.
Done it enough.
One of the segments that we always do on the Patreon content, and again, guys, you got to join Mocktails. It's $2 a month for the podcast, $5 a month. You guys know the deal, how cheap it is, and how much cool content that I have out there. Because I talk about it all the time, and I got people like Rich Brendel upping his tier to producer level, so you could be involved in the show.
Yeah.
Show and Tell is one of the segments that we do. I just picked this up at Target. Every time I go to Target.
Oh, cool. That's a nice one.
Yeah, it was normally $34. Okay, that's a little pricey for a Funko Pop. Here's the catch though with this thing. I'm a sucker for the clearance items. I'm not a Funko Pop guy like Brother Brian Klein, but somehow I ended up with a shit ton of them because they are cool, but I don't have a super huge collection. But this Boba Fett, here's the catch. It is a fucking cool one. He's on the skiff, right? But you got to buy 2 more Funko Pops, and those are $34 a piece. Come on, man. Got this one for $10, and I'm waiting for the other ones to go on clearance so I can complete this set. Matthew said he had 2 stories in his Target. Yeah, the one in Chicago does. What do you got for show and tell, Rich? I know you make some cool 3D 3D prints.
So, I just made this one today. It's a Cerveza Cristal R2D2.
Oh, that's cool. That's super cool.
So
did that take you a long time? It's a small print, so it probably.
That's not that. It maybe took like 2 or 3 hours.
That is awesome, and I think you have a Cristal collection going and growing yourself, don't you?
Yep, I got the Ted. I need to glue that label on a little better, but
now is that something you made as well?
Yeah,
nice.
I'll be bringing the Ted to Vegas when kind of pulls with our drinks, and stuff. He'll be our drinking buddy.
Yeah, that is a cool piece. You make so many cool. I got so many cool of your pieces in my curio cabinet. Now another segment that we do on Mocktail's Patreon is come on, man. You got one? You got one today?
Oh yeah.
What do you got?
So my neighbor just moved, and my come on, man, is those damn kids across the street are too damn loud.
Too damn loud. What are they doing? Are they having sex in the bush?
Running around and screaming like you know how like you mentioned that one friend that your daughter has that screams, and when she screams, your daughter screams more, and she's like a bad influence on her,
Bad
right?
influence, yes. It's a domino
Yeah.
effect of
Yeah.
screams.
And they're just screaming like idiots and chasing each other around. And I just want to have a trip line.
You know what sucks
I
about
want to have a
neighbors?
trip line from my house for when they run by and just
Yeah,
pull
do
it.
do the old Endor ATST Ewok
Yes,
stomp on
yes,
them, right?
exactly.
You
So
know
come on, man.
the thing that sucks about having neighbors move in that you don't like is that they're not renting the place. They just bought the fucking place. Maybe they are renting, but they're going to be there for a long time. So yeah, that sucks. What a really cool event that I want to plug real quick is coming up this Friday. We have a flyer for this too. Brother Barry Harmon and brother Tyler Page uh, host this trivia event at Alulu Brewing, which is a very, very cool brewery. And it's happening walking distance from C2E2 this Friday. I'm going to be doing a live show before trivia. It'll be a live half-hour show. I have a very, very special surprise guest that is going to join me. And Rich, you're going to do a cheer and a beer from there
Yeah,
for us.
hoping to do a spotchka.
Yeah, there's Star Wars drinks, and I gotta remind you guys, there are so many cool trivia prizes. This is a place that if you win first place, you're like, fuck, I'm glad that I know my shit because it really, truly pays off. So, Rich, I'm excited that you're coming out for that, man. And I know you got to drive back that night, so that's going to be a long, long day for you, for sure.
Yeah, it's worth it though. The Connecticut boys like Jesse and Kevin Lyle and his buddy Jesse are coming out for it. And
yes, Kevin's going to have a Norse Legion booth at C2E2. He's coming out, so it's going to be a little bit of a reunion of sorts.
yeah,
For
which I was happy that this sucks, but I'm glad that I'm seeing Kevin because just yesterday I had my Guinness glass sitting on the edge by my sink and I bumped it and knocked it in the sink and it shattered. So I'm like, hey, I need another one. Can you bring it to Alulu? I'll pay you for it. And
well, tell him you're paying for it, but let him know that it's your birthday coming up.
yeah.
So, hey, Brother Rich, thank you again, man. Love you, and we will see you this Friday from Alulu, and we will be recording it for Patreon, for sure. Hey, Rich, drive safe, and I'll see you up there, man.
Yeah.
All right, take care, brother. Without further ado, I want to invite my old friend, first guest of Mocktails from the Cantina, which was just a little over 4 years ago. Sean, welcome back to the show as always, man.
Sweet Jiminy Christmas, 4 years already?
4 years already. It feels like yesterday, doesn't it?
No. It feels longer.
It feels longer, yeah. Time is weird. Sometimes it feels like it was a long time ago. Sometimes it feels
in
like
a galaxy far, far away.
Yes, it is crazy. Hey, before we get into our conversation, I do need to pick up the Jim Bloom photos from you. You guys joining Patreon, you can win a Jim Bloom autograph, 8x10 of him as a rebel trooper that Sean was so kind to print out. And also, you guys can join Mocktails for a week for free at any level. And the drinking word of the night tonight is Disney. Remember, folks, this is a 21 and over show. Drink responsibly or don't drink at all. And, we're going to chat about our Disney 100 experience. Sean, I kind of got to take a little bit of credit here because I feel like you had said, hey, is this really worth it? You had reached out to me and I said, yes, it is. The thing that sold me on this was not only that it was in Chicago, and it was very easy to get to, right off the highway, but the ticket price for this thing, it was essentially free compared to what Disney usually charges.
When you compare, oh yes, I suppose when you compare it to that, yeah, for sure.
You
It was
know,
not. I had seen it posted. It popped up in the Facebook feed when it first opened, and I saw, it's going to be there till, whatever, April. And this was back maybe last October or something like that. I got plenty of time. And here, and all of a sudden, here comes the last few weeks. I'm like, I better go see that thing.
yeah, it already extended too. It was supposed to close in January, and they had already extended it. Now, I do want to let people know that the thing that's special about this event being in Chicago, and it has
Quick
not
note-
around.
Quick note, just as long as while we got it up on the screen, that is an original guitar that was played on the Mickey Mouse Club by the show's host during
Yes.
the sing-alongs.
The props, the screen used pieces, the costumes, the photography, the original concept drawings, everything in here, I would say I would compare it to a Star Wars fan going to Tunisia, a Christian going to Bethlehem to make a religious pilgrimage. This place to me was such a holy grail for Disney. And the reason why I thought it was so important that it was here in Chicago was because a lot of people don't know this. And I'm going to have the owners of Walt's Childhood Home on soon on Mocktails. Walt was born in Chicago. A lot of people don't.
No, a lot of people don't know that. Yeah, and I believe they just and I believe, as you're speaking of the childhood home, I think that has recently been made a national landmark and made into a bit of a museum that you can go visit itself.
Yeah, so I'm very fortunate that a friend that I've been working with in the production industry, production side of things for a long time, a really good friend of his from his childhood owns the house. And when I found this out, I'm like, "Hey, man, I gotta get him on Mocktails." And
yeah,
he's like,
for sure.
He would love to chat. So this is where it really all started. The zoetrope is how they first started moving pictures, if you will.
Yeah. For those that don't know, inside of this drum is a series of images, and what you did was you stood on the outside of that drum, you looked through those little slots, and you turned a wheel that spun the drum, and then you looked through the slots, the images animated into motion, like a horse jumping over a rail, or as any number of different things. But they were just short little things. This is the first early stages of animation right here.
Yeah, Matthew, I don't know if we can get a zoom in on that tile that's on the right there to find out exactly if there's any information there. Zoetrope, the story of the animated drawing from 1955. So,
which I'm guessing was probably an episode of Wonderful World of Disney.
Yeah, I would think that's a good guess because obviously, Steamboat Willie was moving pictures, and that was obviously way before 1955.
Correct.
Sean, what was it about this museum? Let's call it a museum. This exhibit. What is it that you really enjoyed the most from this?
Well, I always appreciate learning the history of such iconic things as Walt Disney, whether the man and the company that followed. What was when you were comparing this to like the different trips to these Star Wars locations? This I compare it to more like the Star Wars exhibits, like the magic of the myth and such, that were traveling exhibits that went from museum to museum around, back in the day. But what was amazing for me was to see, even though some of the production animation art was replicas of the original, which I completely understand. The originals are probably so brittle they don't want to travel with them. But it was fun to see that stuff because I had dabbled in animation, wanting to do animation early when I was growing up, but just never really pursued it like I wanted to. Learning the history of the family, learning about their how they got the business started, how the different family members played a role, and then seeing the timeline of how the company's evolved and what things were introduced, from Steamboat Willie to the Mandalorian and how it evolved over time. And it probably, I mean, there's just so many things besides the
There was so many things.
there's so many things. Like when you watch the movie Snow White, at the beginning of the movie, there's the storybook that they open up, and you see the first page, and the narrator goes into the story. That book was a real prop, and it was there. They had the Snow White book, they had the Cinderella book, And what I also found was interesting regarding the animation, they had an actual Pinocchio costume that a little boy wore, they would film, say, dancing to the "I Have No Strings," and and that's one of the puppets that you would use as a reference, and they would use the footage of this boy dancing in this costume that was actually made, and then they would base their animation off of that, so that's one of the reasons why the movements look so realistic. And that was a thing that was common in animation back in those days, and still used to this day in some respects.
I think to me, when I walked in, I had my daughter ran ahead and I was looking for her, and I was like, I almost felt like I was in a dream because I was going room after, I had to jump ahead and then go all the way back to where I was. Room after room after room after room, it was
a lot. Yeah, like you said, it was a lot longer and expansive than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of these things that come to Chicago, they're like these, like the Prince thing was cool, but it was kind of short. And then they had the Van Gogh experience, and it was like that was just a fucking cash grab. It's like, okay, let's maybe smoke if you got him kind of thing, and let's get immersed with all these walls moving around us. That was it. This was like a history lesson. It was going back in time. It was they had a lot of current stuff too, and
yeah,
like you said, when there was a replicated drawing, it said on the plaque. When it was an original, it said on the plaque. So they had this wonderful variety of all these drawings there. And like you said,
right.
Some of the stuff that's older, they probably don't want to take out of the archives. Just maybe it's brittle, maybe it's too valuable, it's irreplaceable.
Right, this is part of the current age. That's the dress from a Cruella de Vil dress from the Dalmatian movie. I forget which one, if it's the Glenn Close or the younger version that they came out with. But that's one of the dresses from the movie that they had. Also, they had the Little Mermaid costume from the live action Little Mermaid. I remember, and it reminded me of it was a legitimate museum exhibit from start to finish.
Yes,
and one of the original cells that they did have there was from Peter Pan. It was an actual painted animation cell of Peter Pan and Wendy from a particular scene. See, that's the stuff because that was, you see something like that, and that is just living animation history right in front of you.
Right.
Somebody
how do you process that, man? I mean, it's right in front of you. It's like, oh my God, it's almost overwhelming, surreal, and it's you really can't put that into words,
Right. When you think about when that was drawn and painted and filmed and put up on the screen and then loved by millions over generation, it's humbling, when you think about how something that can be created and be that timeless.
I would say producer Matthew says it best too. It's a little bit like archaeology with the artifacts.
Absolutely, 100%.
Now I don't know why. Now here's the thing. This was cool because they also incorporated Disneyland and Disney World into this, which obviously is a big part of Disney. I felt
which was yeah. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Go ahead.
It's okay. I felt like they did a really nice job covering all elements of Disney. From the shows to the theme parks.
I really enjoyed there's towards the end of the exhibit when they focused on the theme parks They had a car from the Peter Pan ride. They had a bobsled from the Matterhorn. They had a teacup from the Mad Hatter ride. They had a replica castle that would switch from day to night, and you see the fireworks. They had just so many displays that showed the evolution of the theme park, or old maps of the parks, and how, yeah, there's the Peter Pan ride car. When people forget, when Disney first opened, it was like carnival. You had to buy tickets per ride. You ever hear that term? It's an e-ticket attraction.
Yes,
Well,
yes.
that typically meant that was the most expensive ticket for the most popular ride in the park. It was an e-ticket attraction. So you had A, B, C, D, and in certain rides, used certain level tickets, and some were cheaper than others. And then they had an original book of tickets on display. I remember seeing there, which was kind of cool. And then until they just switched it over to the single general admission price to get in. I mean,
I would say it's funny. I can't look at that and not think Dan Madsen, because Dan Madsen is the biggest fan of this film.
20,000 Leagues. Yep.
Yeah. And I still remember the first time I went on that ride at Disney World. It was 1993, and I was like, "Wow, this is kind of crazy."
It was 91. Yeah, it was 91 when I went, but that was a cool ride. It
was. A lot of people got upset when these rides were replaced.
That ride has a rough history. It went from 20,000 to being down, and then they brought it back briefly. Then they took it down again. Then they turned it into a Nemo version of the ride, and then eventually it got shut down. And I think one of the cars was part of the backstage show. And then eventually a lot of those cars got left to just rot and crumble in the Florida sun. The original cars from the rides, and it had a sad ending.
I think that's the nice thing about this exhibit, and I'm sure it's going to make another stop somewhere. It's still relatively new. I think it was London, hit the East Coast, hit Chicago. I want to say something. It just kind of, because we're talking about a lot of cool stuff, a lot of history here with this Disney stuff here. I know that as of late, Disney's got a lot of shit from, I know the old owner's back, but the owner before him, a lot of the Disney fanatics did not like him. A lot of people complain about the Disney ticket prices. A lot of people complain about the content that Disney is putting out. Now, Disney has been around, obviously, for well over 100 years. So here's the thing. It's like when you're around that long, you're going to have highs and you're going to have lows. This exhibit, to me, was something that was such a positive experience that celebrated and preserved the history of what Disney is. Let's talk about the Star Wars stuff.
Oh, yes. Speaking of history, here it is right in front of us. The sacred Jedi texts.
Well, okay, speaking about history and people complaining about shit, right?
The history of something that is often complained about right in front of us.
They did have Star Wars stuff on display. And yes, it was from the Disney era. But again, screen use stuff. They had this. I want to say, I believe I took a photo with a lightsaber. Matthew is behind the board with the photos.
Yes.
Is this the infamous lightsaber that Luke Skywalker tossed over his shoulder that everybody complained about?
Well, yeah, yes, it is, but it's more specifically the one that Rey pieced back together after it got split in half by Kylo and her fighting over it. That's what the brown band in the middle is. That's where she soldered it back together. But yeah, it would have been cool to see, some original Lucasfilm props. Yeah, but you know what? That's not what this exhibit is. If you want to be accurate to a Disney exhibit, the sequel trilogy is the stuff you're going to show, and the stuff that was on Disney Plus, stuff produced by Disney. Yeah, and
I felt like overall, they showed they had new stuff on display, obviously, but I don't feel like they overdid it on the new stuff. I felt like, again, it was very, very good.
Yeah. The infamous Han Solo dice.
Yeah.
You know, people forget that the original dice in A New Hope was just regular dice, you know, painted gold, you know, with the normal dots on it. It wasn't
Now,
until
and if
so
you look at the
later.
plaque, this is screen used. It says used by Carrie Fisher and Mark Hamill.
Right, right. And that's the
Um,
one that has the R brush letters on it.
so I thought it was really cool. Matthew says he's got the dice in his car, and his mom does too. I think that's really cool. I need that in my car. Sean, do you have the Han Solo dice in your car?
I do. I
I'm
have.
late
I
to the
have.
party.
I have the die. I might even have an extra pair laying around somewhere. We'll
If you
see.
do, if you want a couple bucks for them or whatever you paid for them, you want to make your money back, I would be happy to take those off your hands. Matthew, what else do we have from the Star Wars side of the exhibit? I know we got a First Order Stormtrooper.
I know I took a.
I
I think me and the missus. I know we took a selfie with that. I don't know.
This kind of gives you a good picture of what everything was. You know
I
how
took
it
a.
was.
Yeah, I know.
That was
I took a
Star
nice
Wars.
close up of BB-8, and oh yeah, here's where we were getting into the animatronic robots
Yeah,
early
like
stages.
and this, can we get a zoom on that plaque if we don't mind, Matthew, to see exactly more detail about this audio animatronics from 2018. See, it looks like a piece of history there.
Yeah, it looks like something from the 50s and 60s, right? You know, something that waved the hand of a small world doll or something.
So that would have
You
been
know,
a little bit more current. Yeah, and
that's
they
probably
did have
there
there
I
you go.
am. There I am with the first order trooper showing
Yeah,
my allegiance. With the
they
same
did
shirt. With the same shirt.
with the same shirt. Now, where did you get your shirt that you're wearing now?
So I got this. I think. Oh God, I want it online somewhere. I got it right before my last family trip to Disney, which was last year. My brother's family, my sister's family. We went in as a big group of like 13 of us, which I wouldn't recommend, but we still had a good time nonetheless. But this one was sort of a encapsulation of everything. It's got all the parks represented here, from Epcot to MGM to Magic Kingdom, and they're all here. Animal Kingdom, they're all here, and they should have different references to different rides on it. It's a fun shirt.
That's a really, really cool shirt. I know they had a
Legit.
Borg on display there.
Yeah. As long
Screen
as we're
view.
as long as we're talking Star Wars, Disney, let me get myself in the mood here. Let's see here.
You know what? I
There we go.
have my ears. What do you got there? What kind of ears you wearing there?
These are my here. Let me show you. We'll get a close up here. These are my Boba Fett ears.
Oh, of course, Boba Fett.
No, look at this ridiculous tag that's on here. What is
Yeah,
this?
you know
What
what?
is
They started doing that with their shirts.
for a pair of Mickey ears? Is this really necessary? Now here's a question I want to pose to your watchers and just to collectors in general. Does it take anything away from the ears to cut this off, or is it a collector? Are you supposed to leave them on?
I would cut
Because
those off.
I want to cut those off. Yeah, I got a couple different flavors here. Let me show you. This one, the batteries unfortunately died in it. I got this one of the years when they did the Star Wars weekends. We would light up and these things would blink and it would look like a space battle was going on, which was a lot of fun.
Way back from Star Wars weekends, you say?
Yes, and I think they still sell that one too. There's this I could pick this one up for Lisa. Of course, that might be a recognizable print for some folks.
Yeah, oh yeah.
And this one I got last time I was there, just recently, which I thought was a lot of fun. Turn this, see if this one still works. Here's the button.
You left those on overnight.
Where is it? Oh, there we go.
Oh, very cool. Very cool.
Switches from the red and the blue.
So you have a collection of man, I have one set of Disney ears and they're Star Wars, but you have a whole collection, my friend. And
Well,
I gotta give a shout out to brother John Zancanaro, because John is a huge Ahsoka fan. He's a huge Disney fan. I remember after I got through this exhibit, I was like, John, you're not a Disney fan. unless you've been here. He's like, I was already there on my birthday. And him and his parents went through this thing together. And he said they had spent so much time dissecting everything, and they gave it 2 thumbs up. Brad Riverdale says, my wife has the space battle ears, but the lights stopped working. I hope you can change those lights, the battery.
I believe so. Yeah, if you look on here, there is a battery compartment with one of those little tiny screws that you could, and I believe it's just a button cell battery.
Yeah, and I don't think those leak as much. I've talked about leaky batteries on Mocktails Inside the Wampa Cave segment before.
Oh, I hate that.
And I know Brother Brad Riverdale had bought a Cubs bobblehead from me. Pat Hughes bobblehead, World Series bobblehead. I know, Sean, you want one of those.
Oh, yeah. I'm all over it. Name your price.
Mr. Sox fan. And the battery needed to be replaced in there. So hopefully the battery and the ears will be like that, easily replaced.
This was a fun part of the exhibit. It took a while. If you sat there and actually looked at it all, it went decade by decade. And it just flashed different things during the decade was for what came up. Of course, The Mandalorian. This was the opening of MGM Studios. I know I sent him a picture that you would like. There it is.
Of
the
course.
Release.
I was happy to see the Rogue One stuff.
Yes, yeah. Which was kind of strange. Like I said, I was surprised. And then, of course, my man, Book of Boba Fett. I was disappointed that we didn't see any props and stuff from these shows. From Rogue One, from Boba Fett, from Mandalorian.
Well,
it was.
I got to remind folks, if you did not catch the Mandalorian exhibit in Anaheim, that was
amazing. Oh my God, I was in there for maybe 3 hours, and I still could have stayed in there longer. It was amazing. Oh my God, to see all that stuff again takes me right back to those museum exhibits, all the way back to the magic and the myth. Seeing all that stuff again, you've seen it on the screen how many times, and then there it is right in front of you.
Yeah, it's a strange thing to process. For me, it really is, because
you almost don't think it's the real thing. Right. You almost think, am I wrong? When you first see it, you're like, there's no way that's the actual thing. I shouldn't be this close to the actual thing.
Yeah.
Look at the detail on that thing. The rhinestones they put around that thing. I mean, that book was probably like 20 by 24. That was a big ass book.
Yeah, it was huge. Yeah. It's funny you're talking about the real thing. So I was in St. Pete, Tampa, and went to the Dali Museum, and Brother Brad Riverdale was with me, and we're looking at all these like Dali originals, and I'm like, are these the fucking originals? They're right in front of me. I'm like, no wonder why there's like these like Men in Black kind of looking guys like hanging out.
Right.
And I feel like the shit should be behind glass, but it's just preserved, in a very dim light. And I don't know, the fact that it's right in front of you, the real thing like this here, it blows my mind. Of course, Matt lived in the St. Pete, Tampa area. I know the Dali Museum, I think, opened up in '82. Well, what else do we got, Matthew, as far as photos go here?
Oh, yeah, the original horse from Mary Poppins, yeah.
The original horse, again, right in front of you.
Mm-hmm.
Right in front of you.
Miss Mary sat right on that horse as it bounced around in cartoon land with the penguins and everything.
It's crazy, man.
Yeah, and I believe this is actually from the movie that was made.
It's from the movie.
Yeah.
Can we zoom in on the plaque there to see? This is going to be, and I want to say Ewan McGregor was in this film.
I was just about to say, I believe Ewan McGregor was in that movie.
And again, they were very specific, live action reference stand-in. So this did not appear on screen.
Right.
This was something that they used while filming that would place. For those of you that don't know, a stand-in is a placeholder where the character, the CGI graphic is going to be.
Yeah, I thought
Uh,
these were cool, kind of reminiscent of the Star Wars maquettes you'd see in the making of stuff.
yeah.
They had these are maquettes used by animators, fleshing out the characters and what they'd look like and using them as reference. They had a wall of these things. Of course, my genie was all Robin Williams. I mean, come on, Robin Williams, man. Even though he threw a lot of pop culture references in there that probably didn't age well, and not still an outstanding performance. you
Well,
know.
it brings back good memories of a man that we lost way too early.
Well, yeah.
As well. There was a photo that flashed on the screen. It was like that coily looking thing with like that tube. This thing, I don't know if Matthew can dig this photo up for us real quick. This thing was really cool. Your brother Rob would appreciate this stuff too, Sean. This was what they used to make the
Yes.
sound effects.
Yes.
Um,
The sound effects section was amazing. The different things that you could see that they do to get certain effects.
Yeah, like
Uh,
just wacky as shit, you know.
yeah.
And if,
Think,
obviously, I want to say this is like the actual piece that they use to make these noises. It looks like some kind of a mosquito or something down
yeah,
below.
the noises of a rock falling or the wings of a buzzer or a fly buzzing and things like that. Be more specific, that art was called foleying, making the sound effects. You
Fully, yes.
know, yeah, making the clip clop sounds of a horse, snapping some celery for a punch. Stuff like that.
Yeah, and I think to see these tools that they used, I mean, we've seen videos and stuff, but
Oh,
this,
here we go. This is for one of the early. This is an early board for an animatronic. You could see the outline of a human body on there, and
yeah, right.
all those buttons are to register certain movements on the body with the fingers, the arms, the joints, and the elbows, and the feet, and head, and whatnot. And
Yeah, very different than the one from 2018. This one, the funny thing is, this one, like you said, is probably older because it references the body parts. With the character there, but it looks like something that like a roadcaster that podcasters use.
I'm trying to remember what the plaque said. I could be wrong, but I think this might have been one of the control boards for when the Mr. Lincoln at Disneyland. Yeah, I don't know if that's cut off. It's probably cut off. But yeah, if I
Yeah, it
remember,
was cut off.
but yeah, I thought this was the original controls for the Mr. Lincoln exhibit at the World's Fair. But I could be wrong on that.
Yeah, it was quite amazing, and of course, Brad Riverdale's favorite ride, Mr. Toad's Wild Ride, the devil, and this is what scared Matthew Rooney when he was a kid going to
Scared a
Disney.
lot of kids. Scared that thing scared me.
I-
There was a lot of Mr. Toad's Wild Ride that was quite scary for a lot of for kids. When you think about it.
So again, just really cool that they had this stuff preserved. Small World doll. Sean, I don't know, when you were there, I felt like the only complaint that I would have is that I felt like there was like a music section that was there that was down. Like it was kind of
Oh, it
dark.
was down. Well, yeah, the lights were off.
Yeah, lights were off.
There was a bunch of storyboards and artwork in front, but you couldn't hear the sound and you couldn't see the images on what was below it because the lights were too dim or something. I know there was like a Maestro Mickey statue that I took a selfie with in that section. Real quick while he's got it on screen. This was AI. This Walt that was done at the beginning of the presentation.
Oh, no shit. This was AI.
This is AI. This was a CG AI Walt Disney that they made for this exhibit, which was is among some Disney files is a bit controversial, but I think it's kind of cool. This is
cool. And, to tell you the truth, I had no idea. This essentially started the tour for us. You go into a room, they show this video presentation, and then you walk through the exhibit.
That particular segment was actually, I think, shown at the D23 convention when they were promoting the fact that this exhibit was going to go on tour, and this is when they had shown the footage for this as sort of a teaser.
And of course, the D23 exhibit, D23 That's kind of like the Disney convention, if you will. Yes.
Right. And then the next picture he had up was that's a hand drawing sketch or from the one of the original Disney cartoons, The Skeleton Dance, which is all over the place when it comes to Halloween, but not a lot of people realize that this was a Disney cartoon.
There's this adventure Mickey. There's this new Mickey Mouse cartoon. It's done in the style of Mickey's Rail.
Runaway Railroad.
Yes, and they actually bring back the dancing skeletons for an
Oh,
episode.
do they?
They do a lot of like old school fan service in this Mickey Mouse cartoon. It's an amazing watch, which is on Disney Plus. Sean, I would give this I would give it a 9 out of 10. I want to give it a 10 out of 10, but as we're reminiscing about the Mandalorian exhibit and thinking about other things in our brain that are being sparked from talking about this. It wasn't perfect, but it was damn near close. Sean, what do you rate this must-see exhibit?
Yeah, I would probably say 8 or 9 out of 10. Now, I can't give it a full 10 because, like you said, there's some things that would have made it even cooler. But it was as a traveling exhibit goes, this was pretty damn cool. And if it comes to your town, don't miss it. If you like anything related to Disney, regardless if you don't like what's been going on with it recently, this is well worth the experience of seeing. And if you got kiddos, it all depends on whether or not if they enjoy the museum type experience, then they'll enjoy it. But if not, then they might be bored.
I felt like too. There's things to do for the kids, but yes, it's an exhibit, so they're going to get somewhat bored. And I also want to say there were a lot of great opportunities for photo ops.
Yes.
I know you and Lisa took a lot of photos. I know I took a lot of photos of my family. Here's the thing, though. It wasn't like overload on the photo ops, which I thought was great.
I thought this was great at the end because you got the Chicago in the background. It says 100, perfect. You have Goofy there. There's my Barbie girl wife, Lisa there. And she at first put up a fight. She's like, "Why do we need to go see this? Why? What's so great about?" And then afterwards, she's like,
It's
"Okay,
not
that was
Barbie."
pretty." Yeah. Afterwards, she was like, "Okay, yeah, that was pretty cool. Thanks for taking me."
No, it was definitely an awesome experience. Another experience that we had, it was on the day of the solar eclipse, and
yes.
promoting a vodka. The whole thing was promoting his vodka.
Let me get prepared for the segment here.
The Crystal Skull vodka. Here we go. Dan Aykroyd was in town for a really cool event that he had at the Wonderverse. And at first I'm like, I gotta go because Dean Richards from WGN is there. He's the entertainment reporter, and Dan Aykroyd is there. It's free. I've heard about this Wonderverse. Again, it's like Dave and Buster's, owned by Sony.
So was the driving force to you coming out Dean Richards, not Dan Aykroyd?
I would say so. I would say that Dean was a guarantee. I would say I know I can get a photo with Dean himself, which I did not send to Matthew. I know you sent a photo of, and I got a little jealous at first because you got there shortly after me. And,
well, before you, I was there
with Dean Richards. He just went to interview Dan Aykroyd, and I'm like, what
I actually was there before you.
You were there before me.
Oh yes, most definitely. I was there. When I got there was hardly anybody there. And then I was kind of walking around, hanging around, trying to figure out where the crowd was going to be when he came in.
Honestly, that was the biggest complaint. Everybody was wondering where they should be.
That's the only proof I was able to get that he was actually there, and as he was walking through the crowd coming in.
The police escorted him in. There were a shit ton of people there. This was a very unorganized event. They promoted it on the news saying, "Hey, come out.
Meet Dan Aykroyd."
Dan Aykroyd is going to be there.
That's exactly how it was promoted. Come meet Dan Aykroyd from Ghostbusters and Blues Brothers and blah, blah. He'll be there from 5 to 8, they said. So he shows up like maybe 5:20, 5:30, whatever. That's commonplace.
What did you hear? Come meet. Was that a Fox News thing?
This is this is the entertainment reporter for Fox 32 Chicago. That's Jake Hamilton. He's a big Star Wars. He is a huge Star Wars fan, Jake Hamilton, just so you know. He has been to Celebration. I ran into him at Celebration in Orlando. So, yeah, he uses his job as an entertainment reporter to go cover Star Wars events and interview all the major celebrities.
Well, here's the thing, though, but he was the one that told you to come meet Dan Aykroyd. See, Dean Richards just said Dan Aykroyd will be appearing. That's the difference between Fox News and WGN, my friend.
Well, I don't know. I'm just saying that's how the thing was advertised. If you go, I found out about the event actually a few weeks before it was going to happen, and I was able to work that out with my work to get off a little early to make it. There he is again. When he first walked in, he ran into a guy dressed up as a Conehead Ghostbuster. And he stopped. The Conehead
got lucky. The Conehead got lucky, and he was.
Yeah, he did.
Very nice.
And Dan, he actually stopped and started talking like a Conehead for a few seconds too. You know.
Aykroyd did, you say?
Yes, I heard when he came in and he stopped for this one. He started talking like Beldar, and he was talking about making some consume mass quantities or something like that. You know, as he usually does with and he's even said that's one of his favorite characters from SNL to play. But yeah, it was like I said. On Facebook and Twitter, they advertised it 5 to 8. Dan Aykroyd, come to see him. The Wonderverse. First 50 people, you know, get served free drinks from his Crystal Head vodka. You know what they didn't tell you was that they were giving out wristbands for these first 50 people. They also didn't tell you when they were going to pass out these wristbands, which they apparently did when the place opened at 11 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
So the only people that got them were like the 501st version of the Ghostbusters,
right?
The Ghost Corps, whatever they're called. And then we'll get to this guy in a second. So
this guy is guilty as charged. This guy with the license plate fucking ruined it.
He ruined the night for everybody.
Even ruined it for the VIPs. And the VIPs were free. They didn't have to pay, but the VIPs were the people that got there early, got the wristband to essentially at least get a free drink, you know, and possible autograph because Aykroyd was behind the bar, was signing
Well, before we get to that, let's talk about when he first got there, right? So he gets there almost 5:30, you know, not uncommon for a celebrity to show up late. And immediately they whisk him away to the backroom bar called the Ghost Trap, which is, you know, it's a little hidden speakeasy they got at the place.
Oh, it is a Ghostbusters theme speakeasy.
It is a Ghostbusters theme speakeasy, which is very cool. But it was closed off to the general public. The only people allowed in there were the news reporters, Jake Hamilton, Dean Richards, and whoever else was there, and then also some influencers who apparently had made arrangements with the promotional department of the Wonderverse, and they did interviews with Dan Aykroyd for the first hour and a half, hour 45 minutes or whatever it was. So almost the first 2 hours of the event, he's whisked away just doing interviews. So here and then when he finally comes out for maybe like the last hour of it, they took him back behind the main bar of the place, and he starts to serve drinks to people. And then Mr. Autograph Scalper with the plate full of license plates there. And there was another guy with him with a giant wheelbarrow full of stuff. They literally shoved their way to the front of the line. You could even see a lady in a scooter next to him on his right side. He almost knocked her out of the scooter, getting to the front, going past all the people with the wristbands, and then shoving this stuff in Dan Aykroyd's face, trying to get him to sign up. That was it. And nobody at Wonderverse did anything to stop it. Even everybody's looking around to the staff. Hey, can you stop this guy? Can you get some control? Nothing. And Dan Aykroyd just got pissed off. So I told you I'm not signing anything more for you. And then he wouldn't let up. So Dan just got up, walked out.
That's a come on, man, right there. Come on, man.
That's a come on, man. So yeah, and like you said, you know, the people that had the wristbands, they didn't even line them up in order. And so, like, from what I heard from somebody, they were just lined up however. So, and I think they only got through like the first maybe 9 or 10 people before Dan walked out.
And I got to tell you, when I got there, nobody knew where to go for the longest time. And I went up to the bar for a drink. And the manager had said, make sure that we wrap it up because we got to take care of the VIPs. And the VIPs, didn't even need to be taken care of until Aykroyd was there. So I asked, I said, I want to buy a drink. And they fucking turned me away. What bar turned you away? Come on, man. What bar turned somebody away that wants a drink?
I like this place, and I very much want it to be successful. I think it's a fabulous place to go and hang out.
It is a fun place, yes.
But stuff like that, there you go. There's Mr. Richards himself right there. A great guy, great reporter. Nothing. I have nothing against WGN, so don't start saying anything crap about that. Don't be starting any beef.
I'm WGN's biggest fan.
You showed up to a Dan Aykroyd event with a WGN T-shirt, so advertising a weatherman's shirt who retired, but
retirement for the solar eclipse.
Yeah, there it is. There's Tom freaking Skilling.
But I could not believe that I was refused because this place was so unorganized. Here's the thing. What made it for me? It was a shit show all the way through. But what made it for me was they even the raffle. They're like, oh, we're going to be giving away prizes. They gave away a prize like after the first 2 hours, and then they waited an hour, and then they waited another half an hour. But Sean, you and I were the last ones to leave, as we usually are. So we were hanging out, and the girl knew that we were hanging out from the beginning. And she's like, you know what? You got to be present to win. She goes, you guys weren't picked. She goes, but nobody's here to claim their prizes. She's like, you guys can pick one thing. And I'm like, anything? She's like, anything in the store. So I picked an $80 hoodie.
I picked
this was worth it. And I didn't buy the hoodie. I won the hoodie.
We won it by default.
Thank you for that. And I got it for Michelle. Because I have enough hoodies. She's a hoodie girl.
The shirt that I ended up picking up, I got for Lisa because she likes
the misses. You got to think about the ladies, especially when they're.
Yep, that's the shirt. That's the shirt I ended up getting. She likes Stay Puft.
And this was on the back with the Asian lettering was on the front. Michelle's biggest complaint was that she didn't think that the Stay Puft Marshmallow Men in the newest Ghostbusters film was enough. But you know what, Sean? We'll have you back on with Baby Belushi. We'll do a proper review of the latest Ghostbusters film, along with some thoughts that you had on the previous Ghostbuster film that you were sharing with me. Overall, I'm glad I went. Sean?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Oh, it was great. It was funny because this was actually my second attempt. I've actually met Dan once before. I got a picture with him while wearing a Ghostbuster outfit back when he was making the rounds promoting the Yogi Bear movie he did the voice for. This was my second attempt to try to get a picture with him dressed up as a Blues Brother. First time was at a screening of the Blues Brothers. I got there too late. They had cut off the line. And then we tried to do it for this. Well, we just went through what happened there. But the very first time I got to meet him he was at like a Binny's liquor store promoting the Crystal Head vodka. And, at first they were telling everybody he wasn't going to sign any memorabilia. But again, he showed up late. He stood up on his chair and said, look, I'll sign one piece of memorabilia and I'll sign as many bottles of vodka if you however many bottles of vodka you buy, I'll sign the bottle too. And just to show that I'm not just bullshitting, here's my Crystal Head vodka. I don't know if you could see.
Yeah, have you had it before?
I have. It's actually really good. There's the Dan Aykroyd, John Hancock, right on there. So good stuff.
And you thought, okay, I have yet to try the Crystal Head vodka. I should have had that on tonight's show, but I feel like because I haven't had a drink in a week,
It's nice and smooth. Nice and smooth.
I didn't want to start my first drink after a week with the martini.
Well, maybe I'll try a third. The Blues Brothers Con 2 is coming up in August. We'll try again with Baby Belushi.
Yes, yeah, Blues Brothers Con is coming up. That's going to be in Joliet. And guys, do not forget, Alulu Brewing is in Chicago, right down the street from C2E2 McCormick Place. And it's going to be a great show. Again, lots of cool prizes, trivia, and mocktails from the Cantina Live. Sean, I want to thank you for being a guest. I know we didn't have a proper anniversary. We're going to save that for next year, the 5th year anniversary. Do you have any memories from being on that first show? I mean, this show has come a long way, audio and visually.
Oh, absolutely. I remember you and I talking about the idea of that show before you actually launched it. And then when you asked me to be on there the first show, of course, I was more than honored to be a part of it. And now I'm just like with you as always as Garth on these things every once in a while.
You're a regular on the show, you know?
So, okay, I'm just part of the staff, hanging out here.
Exactly.
But no, I enjoy it. It was a fun experience. It's continued to be a fun experience. You've provided the fans lots of fun content, and those who haven't seen it yet are only doing themselves a disservice for not checking it out.
Well, I appreciate that, man. And you're going to be at C2E2. Are you going to go as a Mando of any sort?
You know what? I'm if you see me on Saturday, you're going to catch me in an unusual phase. I'm honoring the missus, going as Mojo Dojo Casa House Ken from the Barbie movie.
Hey, I love it. Hey, and you know what? That speaks volumes of the love that you have for your wife right there.
Well, think about how many times she's had to dress up for me. I think it's about time I return the favor.
Several. Hey, well, you're a good man for that. Sean, I want to thank you for being on the show, man. I appreciate you as always. And be on the lookout for him at C2E2 on Saturday. I want to thank Matthew Rooney behind the board. I know he's under the weather today. I hope he gets well soon. Otherwise, he would have joined us as well. And I want to thank brother and producer Rich Brendel, who will also be with me Friday live from Lulu. So, again, guys, join Mocktails on Patreon. There is so much content that you will get your money's worth the minute you join. And don't forget, you can join for free for a week. I'm your host, Chris Mock. We will catch you guys next time on another episode of Mocktails from the Cantina Live. Be well, be safe. So long. Good night. Goodbye.